Hello everyone, welcome back to the Fetch Quest podcast, where we talk about video games and more. Today, I'm your host, Guy, and I am joined by my fellow co-host, Logan and Connor.
Hello.
Hello.
So, how have you guys been lately? I'm glad we're finally back on the podcast here. Tell us what's been going on. It's the holiday season. What's up?
Been alright, I suppose. How about you, Connor?
I could be better. Doctor told me I got infected by something.
Oh, that doesn't sound good. What'd you get infected by?
I don't really know. I've never heard of it before. They called it the X parasite. I got it after a bird bit me.
Brewer, if this is what we think it is, I think we need to stay away from Connor from now on.
Yeah. Along with turning into an alien, Elon Musk is controlling him now.
Guys. I'm fine. I'm completely fine. Listen, Elon Musk can't be controlling me. I don't even have X.
Holy crap, he is definitely 100% infected. No one calls Twitter X!
Execute Order 66 on this man. We need to kill him now.
No, please.
Okay, now that we're done with that, Brewer, you want to talk about Metroid Dread?
You know what? Yeah, that's a great idea, since we just killed Connor.
Oh wait, hey, the real Connor's back. I guess it does work like the X Parasite where it made a clone of him. Holy crap.
that was Dark Connor instead of normal Connor.
Dark Connor.
He was Connor's Echo Fighter.
I am back. What happened?
Your Echo Fighter was saying Twitter is called X.
Oh, thank God you guys killed him then. That would have been dreadful.
Yeah, on the tier list, you're higher than Dark Connor.
Let's go.
But I love that pun you made, but we're going to be talking about one of our favorite games of all time and the nominee of the 2021 Game Awards, Metroid Dread.
Yay.
What is the game? What is the game? Why do we love it? Should you buy it? Yes. What does it do for the Metroid series? Everything and more. So, we thought we'd dedicate an episode to the game that is Metroid Dread, which, I'm going to start this off here, was my first 2D Metroid game, and I loved every second of it.
I think it was all of our first 2D Metroid. Was yours, Connor?
Yes, it was my first 2D Metroid game. Not my first Metroidvania, but it was my first 2D Metroid game.
Yeah, that's saying something, because there was like a massive gap between 2D Metroid games, or at least like for new releases. I'm not going to talk about I'm not counting Samus Returns because that's a remake of Metroid 2, but Metroid Fusion came out on like the Game Boy Advanced, I think, and then decades later, the fifth 2D Metroid game comes out, which is Metroid Dread. So there was a huge leap in terms of length of like release times. So it's really interesting to see that like Nintendo really brought this series back, or at least the 2D Metroids in Metroid Dread.
Metroid Prime 4 ain't ever coming.
True.
Prime 4 feels like a myth.
Well, funnily enough, Dread was the same, because the whole reason we had to wait so long for Dread is because after Fusion released, like, they had a solid idea of what they wanted with Dread, but the technology just wasn't there at the time, so they were saving the idea for later. It got rumored a while ago, I think, it was going to release on like the DS or 3DS, but just things weren't working out. And then later on, we got the announcement that Dread was coming to the Switch, and we're here now with a direct sequel to the Game Boy Advance game.
And it's personally one of my favorite games on the Switch. It's awesome.
It is so damn good. It feels so good to control. It feels so good to shoot shit. Samus is hot. Maybe not the last part.
We need to... No, definitely that last part. But I think we need to talk about like what exactly is Metroid Dread. Metroid Dread is the fifth mainline game in the 2D Metroid series, which follows under the Metroidvania not subgenre, but genre of video games, where the essential gameplay loop is you explore an area, you have different paths that are locked off to you, you find an item to unlock those paths for you, and there's a lot of backtracking, and the game rewards you for remembering certain locations where they were locked off previously, but with new acquired items, you unlock new areas so you can get better upgrades and make yourself like better, if
Yeah.
that makes
I mean,
sense.
most
That's the essential. Yeah.
most Metroid games follow the path of you get to place, you're powerful, you get your ass kicked by something and lose all your good abilities, and then you gotta like claw your way through wherever planet you're on, getting those abilities back, and then maneuvering around the planet by finding those abilities to and going back to old locations where those abilities are useful. You fight a couple bosses, find more abilities, you kick the final boss's ass, and then probably blow up the planet because that happens a lot.
Yeah, I I really like Dread. One of my favorite aspects of it is its like map design and like how you can just it doesn't feel like you ever get lost unless like you don't know what you're doing, you know? Because like I would often go through the map and I know exactly where I'm going due to how well the map is designed, especially with the like the actual like in-game map you
I
can
will I
pull
will
up.
say compared to like Super Metroid, which is considered like one of the best games of all time, it does do a lot better job of conveying information, which does make sense. It's on the Switch instead of Super Nintendo. But even back then, like
Yeah, that is a huge
I
one.
played through it a little bit when I got the Super Nintendo Classic. There's one part I was trying to like get through. I just could not figure out how to progress. There was a tiny gap I had to go through, no way to get to it. So I looked it up and I was supposed to like put a little morph bomb on this one exact pixel to progress. I'm like, how the fuck was anyone supposed to figure that out?
Yeah, that's what I really like about like that's something I really like about it is its information like how it conveys information. For example, in a bunch of these, I mean, a bunch of areas in the beginning, there are these like pipes, and they'll be linked to certain doors, and you can follow those like pipes to where you're supposed to go, and it's it helps you unlock a bunch of different areas, and it's like that level of like detail of like being able to follow those pipes to where you need to go in order to progress. It's a small detail I really
it
like about the
it
game.
does a really good job of teaching you without like directly telling you the information. Like it'll show you a couple things. You'll be like, I can't do this, so I'm gonna go down here. You get a new item and then you remember those old things. You'd be like, maybe I can try to like knock down these with this new weapon I got. And then you do that, and it feels really good, and you keep repeating that throughout the entire game. Just get gradually getting stronger and stronger, and like figuring out new ways to explore the areas. Remembering the old area had the specific type of block that your new weapon can break, so you go back there and you get rewarded for it.
Yeah. And speaking of getting stronger and stronger, why don't we talk about the bosses?
Hmm. Well, I think before that, let's talk about like how powerless Samus was at the start, especially with the new like main enemies, the Emmy.
Oh yeah, we should definitely talk about the enemies before we get to the bosses. One of
Yeah,
you?
that's how that's. Yeah, that's the Emmys are something. Oh Lord, I love them by the way. But before we go into the Emmys, one thing I want to like go on go on to it. Something that's very different from Metroid Dread is that the design of it is much more linear compared to the other 2D Metroid games, which in all fairness, I think it's to its benefit because you're trying to reintroduce an audience to a game series that's been kind of dead for a few decades, but it still has that idea of you can go back and use your new power-ups and find new stuff. So frankly, I don't think that diminishes the quality in any way, but let's talk about the enemies. Those guys are like the main appeal of this game.
Dude, if I had played Metroid Dread before we did our horror episode part two, uh, they would have been in that episode because goddamn, at the start of the game, those things are like fucking horrifying, or they'll scare the shit out of you. Not like in a ooh
You're so
spooky
right,
jump scare
dude.
way, but like holy shit, the thing's chasing me down and is about to kill me way.
Yeah. I to me, a part of why the Emmys work so well is based just off like the sound design, because you can if you are in an area where an Emmy is near you, you'll have like little like sensor beeps happen because you're moving, and just that like sound design of like that thing is sensing you due to that like association, it builds a tension. You're like, I've got to get out of here fast because even though this thing can't see me, the fact that I know it's close by, it fills you with so much like tension. Or to say it in a different way, dread. Huh?
Ooh.
Huh?
Well, I think the
Woo!
build-ups help too because like before you even like can really interact with like the first Emmy, your helper AI Adam, he constantly tells you you are weak as shit. You got your ass kicked by a random bird. Now you're powerless, and even if you were at full power, these Emmy things will just murk you if you're not careful. So just
Yeah.
run and hide.
If there was, yeah, those I love the enemies so much. They add like a suspense to the game, which the game is already really challenging. It's like in and of itself, but you have this like extra layer of suspense where it's like you have to run away from these things that can one shot you if you're not careful enough. Not just that, but it also adds like a suspense to it because they always have new powers.
Yeah, I
So
love
you,
that. Oh, sorry.
no, you first, go for it.
I'm just gonna say I love that level, that like slow rise of like threat and escalation. Because the first one you fight it's basically just defunct. Like it's missing an arm. It has no armor. It it's a good introduction to the enemies, and it makes sense too. It's not like you're taking down a actual like fully operational one, and then you move on to one that is fully operational and it's pretty hard there, and then you slowly get more variations of it, like one that can like
Charge
go
super
through.
fast.
Yeah, one that can charge you fast if it's on a
Yeah,
straight
faster
line.
than you
And
can
then
run.
yeah, you have ones that can
Freeze you in
um
place.
I was gonna say the ones that can like go through there, because it introduces ones that can like go through the like small holes in the wall. Because before they couldn't do that because of how of their like plating.
For stature and how big they were,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And so once you see that it can go through the holes, you're like, shit.
Yeah.
But that's also a thing with the Emmys as well, is that they also give you an introduction to the power up that they'll give you. So
Yeah,
like that Emmy that you just mentioned was the Morph Ball Emmy, or the one that freezes you. That's the freeze
I,
missiles. The one there's one for the plasma missiles. Obviously, that like I would say around half of the power ups are given to you from Emmys, but that doesn't mean that there aren't any power ups that you can't find in the overworld through puzzles and puzzle solving, because that's still a part of it. It's just that they wanted to give you like this extra feeling of challenge. Not just that, but something that you were afraid of, you're now overcoming. Which I love that progression in the game.
Yeah.
yeah,
Another thing I want to know with the Emmys real quick is the one shot aspect we mentioned. When they bump into you, they're not. It doesn't mean they automatically kill you. You'll go into a little, like, let's just say cutscene with them, and in the game, any like regular enemy, most bosses too, they have parry windows for their attacks. So you press the X button, you're gonna try to parry their attack, and if you do it with the right timing, then you can like usually rack up a lot of damage and get rewarded for it. But with the Emmys, once they bump into you, they're gonna try to first grab you, and then if they grab you, they're gonna have another instance where you can parry. Which if you miss that, they're just gonna stab you through the heart, which is a really brutal cutscene. But the thing I
yeah,
love about it is the timing for it is random, so it's not something you can learn and get used to. You never really want to get into that instance where an enemy catches you, because usually, even if you've gotten really good at parrying them, there's still a high chance you'll mess it up just because of how tight the timing window is to escape them.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really punishing. It
So
really is.
yeah, to expand on that, I really like how that works because if you fail it, it's really funny because you'll just like weakly slap its like head or something, and it's really funny looking.
It's kind of like a small child trying to fight their
Yeah,
parent.
it's like, yeah, exactly. It's just like a little like dink, and it looks really funny. But two, if you do ever parry it, which on my recent replay, I did actually a good bit. I actually parried them quite a bit. You feel like an actual god at the game. You feel like it gives you such an adrenaline rush that you basically feel like you can take on the entire game just from
Well, as great
parrying
as it
them.
feels, at the same time, once you parry them, it doesn't just completely knock them out. They'll be paused for a couple seconds, but once you parry them, which you'll probably be in shock after you do, you still just got to run from those things as fast as you can to try to find an exit.
Yeah, because you cannot kill them by normal means. Like no missile or laser or like normal projectile is going to harm the enemies. You have to unlock like a special laser cannon that you beat after getting beating a mini boss for each enemy to actually take it down.
Even then, there's still a lot of tension with those because the enemies are like robots that have like some advanced metal plates all around them, and one around their face, which is like their main central unit. So the Omega cannon that you get to fight them with, you can't just like immediately just go shooting them like you would a normal enemy. You have to like burn through their metal plate while you're basically in a standstill and you can't run from them. And then you have to charge up a really slow cannon while they're coming towards you and then make a perfect shot at their eye. So like even when you still have the
Yeah,
power to kill them, there's still a lot of tension and you still don't feel completely safe.
Yeah, especially since like even when you were like absolutely demolishing them with the like laser thing, they're still moving to you. And it just goes to show like how strong they are. That even when you're using the weapon that is designed basically to kill them, it's still like they're still powering through
Yeah,
it.
because it literally melts through their plate, but all it really does is slow them down. They don't completely stop. They just keep slowly crawling towards you. And I'm just like, just stay away. Stay away. I want to live.
I think what makes those scenes in particular more terrifying is that like, which I think this is also a good point of transition, is that you have to remain stationary to blast this laser, which is so weird because the game is very fluid and you're always moving. So having this point where you're stationary makes you very vulnerable, which adds more to the tension. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because usually too, you can melt the faceplate off, but then you still gotta like charge up the blast. So a lot of times while I was blasting him, I'd be thinking, it's like, okay, where can I escape to get a chance to charge this up and shoot them? This thing will probably freeze me if I don't get far away enough to charge up the blast. So where can I go and be in a safe distance to shoot? You never feel completely safe with the Emmys, other than like one weird exception.
Yeah, there is that one weird exception, but you're not expecting it if it's a first playthrough.
Well, actually, two weird exceptions now that I think about it, but not really important.
Oh yeah, I know. You're right. It is two. It is two. We're not gonna mention that. But
Spoilers.
don't. We're not gonna talk about it. But But yeah, I want to talk about the fluidity of the game. I They put so much time into building Samus's not arsenal, but her animations for her movement, and it feels so fluid. Not just that, but the game is extremely responsive to your movements, like to a point where it's like I don't feel like anything is unfair, and if I mess up in something, that's because I did it and not because of the game. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
there's a couple like challenge sections where you'd have to execute some really strict inputs to like get a missile upgrade or to get a health upgrade. But whenever you did those, it felt satisfying because it felt like you were really learning the game's movement systems. You're utilizing every power up and button as effectively as you could to like tackle the challenge you're given.
Mm,
It's just so
bet.
satisfying.
It's so good. God, I don't know. I forget. I watched a video on this, but whoever made the animations for Samus had a very good understanding of human anatomy,
Except for the morph ball.
and the way that she shush, that's the only exception. But like the way she runs and the way she like slides into stuff is completely natural.
Dude, playing as Samus
If
makes
that makes
you feel
sense.
like a badass because like she's just
Because she
charging
is.
through, maneuvering these tight quarters, then just like firing at the enemies, which we'll get into with the boss battles, just making you feel badass as well.
Oh, for sure. Samus is on the topic of this. She is probably my favorite female protagonist in any video game.
It would be like a tie for me probably with my other one in Gravity Rush, but gosh, she is like so fucking cool.
Yeah,
She's
I
so sick.
100% agree. So let's go ahead and move to the bosses, I
Before we
guess.
move to the bosses, can I mention a fun little story?
Oh yeah, sure.
Because like there's always those little news articles that are like, did you know Samus is a woman? They're like, ah.
Oh, it's the Kotaku article.
Yeah, which is widely known nowadays, but NES days, like you'd have to beat the game and then you'd find out, oh, she's a woman. But I remember I was playing Dread like a couple weeks ago, and my mom was downstairs, and then she's like, "Oh, who's that cool bounty hunter dude?" And I was like, "Oh no, that's a woman, mom." She's like, "That's a woman?" I was like, "Yeah." Now watch me shoot this dragon.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that Samus is a woman, like, it's very cool because like she was the first popular protagonist that was like video game protagonist that was a woman, and everyone was so shocked about it.
Well, I think just like having her in that like big main role, because like back then too, like a lot of the games surrounding it were like, the Mario's, Zelda's. Oh my god, princess has been captured. What will we ever do? And then Samus comes in here as a
Yeah,
ruthless bounty hunter that's just like fucking here to kick ass and take names, blow up
it's so
planets,
awesome.
and as a pastime, because she blows up a lot of planets. I need to make that very clear.
She does. She had literally every escape from like every ending in the 2D Metroid games always end with, "Oh, the planet explodes," and she flies off and doesn't look at the explosion. She does not.
She's like in every
But
popular action movie.
it's so true. But going back to like her being a female protagonist, like it was so absurd and like
Not heard of at the
not
time.
normal at the time. Yeah, not heard of at the time, that there was actually like a popular misconception. I don't remember the story, but to put it in like a small bottled up form, I think there was like a misconception of Samus being trans.
I think I know
What?
what you're talking
I've
about.
never heard of this. I need some more information.
So I could be wrong, but I know what you're talking about. In the, I believe, Metroid manga, there is a sort of scene where she's like talking to these two women or something, and essentially the manga calls her what I'm pretty sure at the time was a derogatory term for a trans person. And so that's where I think that misconception has come from, that she was a trans person.
Oh,
That's
Yeah,
what I think you're referring to.
never knew
I
that.
don't. Yeah, I don't know like the context behind it, but like the idea is that like this was such a foreign concept at the time. Because let's name off some like the popular video game protagonists at the time: Mario,
Link,
Link, Donkey Kong,
Don't you
Mega
mean
Man.
Mega Man, Mr. Game and Watch. He's not really a big
Well, he
protagonist
wasn't
or
really.
anything, but you
There
get
wasn't
it.
even really a Mr. Game and Watch. Game and Watch was just they were Game and Watch games back then. Mr. Game and Watch was just a Smash thing.
Oh yeah, you're right. I think
Pac-Man?
Yeah, Pac-Man.
like Man, you're right. No, that's it's a really like it was really important, I feel like, in gaming for Samus to be a woman because it opened the doors for like what like the gender norms were in video games. Like, holy shit, this protagonist is female and she's badass. What? You know what I mean?
But I think it does a little more because like just making a female badass, I think is a bad way to represent them. Just like them being female doesn't make them badass. I think it's just they happen to be female and they're badass. I think is the way they should kind of go about it. Because
Yeah,
that kind
of
of shows
course.
like the
But
equality, that type stuff.
yeah, of course. But Connor, I know you had a point earlier. Sorry to kind of sidetrack it. I did want to talk about that, but what were you saying? I forget what
Boss
the point
battles, I
was.
think.
Yeah, boss.
Yes, boss battles. Mm,
Dread's boss battles are like
okay.
challenging, but they feel fair and they're like really exciting throughout the whole time.
Yeah,
They're so good.
don't get me wrong, there are a few like not good ones in my opinion. One of them being this random like bug
I think I know
that
what you're talking about.
yeah, I remember I hated that
Is it the
boss.
one that flies or is
It's
it the one that's on the ground?
it flies around and it shoots
Electric
these like
one?
little like
Okay, I know
yeah, and
what
it
you're
shoots
talking
these
about, yeah.
darts
That one
all
Okay,
around.
that one's
that one
annoying.
was kind of
Yeah,
annoying, but it wasn't too hard. My main problem with the
but
bosses.
I remember when I first played the game on my replay, I beat it like first try. But the first time I ever played the game, um, I genuinely think I spent like 3 hours on it.
3
I just for
hours?
yeah, no, I don't know why. I just struggle with that
What?
boss.
Like, I know it was like a kind of an annoying boss, but I didn't think it was 3 hours hard. Jeez.
I could be just
Hmm.
misremembering because again, I did first play this in like 2021, and I've only recently replayed it. But I remember I spent so much time on that boss because it was just my brain just could not figure out how like to dodge the little darts that it kept shooting at me, and then I'd end up running into it and just end up killing myself.
I mean, Dread is a hard game because, like, unlike some of the other like contemporary games, like a lot of the Castlevania games where you explore, a lot of times in those types of games, you can just level up and stuff to make the boss battles easier. In Dread and a lot of the other Metroid games, you can like find more missile power ups and more energy usually, but a lot of times it's still just going to come down to understanding the boss patterns if you want to actually succeed.
Yeah, it's how do I understand? How do I put this? It has like the Dark Souls kind of philosophy with it. With like,
No.
yeah, they're hard boss fights. They're hard boss fights, but you just gotta learn the movesets and you overcome them. You better player them.
Man, we couldn't go another episode without Guy mentioning a Souls game.
It's
Yeah,
impossible.
you know that fuck, what's that? It's that one image like days since. We need to make that a thing.
Day since Guy
Just
has
have,
mentioned a Soul game, zero.
yeah, and then anytime he mentions it in an episode, we'll put it up.
Actually, no, Day since is going to be -1 since he's planning on saying something again tomorrow.
Oh, you know it.
Yeah, back to the bosses, like, other than, like, having a couple repeated bosses or, like, ones that are way too similar, for the most part, I really enjoy the bosses in Dread.
Yeah, one of my
I do too.
favorite, but besides the final boss, but we're not gonna touch on story because of spoileries. Um, but besides the last boss, which is genuinely one of the best bosses in any Metroidvania game I've ever played, um, I think my favorite boss was probably the it's like the X Parasite version of the first boss, and I really enjoy that boss because it's a sort of reimagining of the first fight in a different environment, and it uses that
Oh
environment.
yeah.
It uses that
No, that
environment.
one's really fun.
Yeah, it's such a fun fight, and it uses the environment the fight is set into its
Is it the
advantage.
one
And
by
it's
the lava area
yeah.
with the fans?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think that thing's called like the experiment or something.
I can't remember, but it's such a fun fight. It's one of my
Well,
favorites.
visually it looks the
It,
same, but the patterns are like completely different to what the first boss was, minus like 1 or 2 attacks.
do y'all know about the phase skip on that one?
Actually,
No,
yeah.
I did not.
Then with the Kraid boss
Well,
battle.
yeah. So there's a power up that you can get in the game that will speed you up like immensely. And what you can do is that if you hold down, you can charge that speed, walk around for a few seconds, and then you can release all that speed into like a singular burst. The thing is though is that that specific burst is the most powerful attack in the game. And you can one-shot bosses with it.
Well, no, I think it's just that boss. I don't think it's like an actually super powerful attack. But
Okay, no, yeah, it is only that boss fight. Yeah, you're right. I'm
yeah, because
remembering
of that
wrong.
boss battle, like the arena's small, but the fans blowing you back lets you charge it up. and then you can go into the fans to like knock it down from where it's like holding on and then knock it into the lava.
Yep.
But it is really cool that like the devs like purposely put in sequence breaks like with Kraid. His weakness is his belly button. And if you have the morph ball to get into belly button and bomb him a bunch, you can like basically one shot him as well. The thing is though, to
Yeah,
do
the game.
that, you
Yeah,
gotta navigate like out of your way and then think of like different strategies to get the weapons you need. But if you did do that, the devs reward you with an easier boss fight and like going through the game faster.
that's a thing. Like, there's a thing in Metroidvania speedrunning called sequence breaking, where you intentionally do not do the intended route of collecting the items, and you collect like an item earlier than you should. And of course, this was popular with, Metroid speedrunning, especially the Super Metroid. But the thing is that the developers knew that this was a very popular thing among speedrunners and a lot of, like, Metroid fans, that they intentionally added purposeful sequence breaks, which you don't have to do, but the idea is that they're open for you if you want to try them out. And if you do them, they play specific cutscenes for that sequence break. Like as Brewer was mentioning, that boss fight against Craig, you can completely skip the second phase if you have the morph ball and the morph bomb, which is awesome, by the way, because you get launched right into Craig's belly button, and you can one-shot it instantly with the bombs if you spam them a bunch, which is its own little cutscene, which is
So I
awesome!
am still wondering why exactly Craig's weakness is bombing his belly button and not his brain.
Okay, if you had multiple powerful bombs go off in your stomach all at once, do you think you'd survive that?
Okay, yeah, but also his
Yes,
belly
I'm.
is like how fucking big? It's the size of like uh, 25 people just from height alone,
That
not just girth either. And it's just his belly
we
button.
should go on we should go in death battle and figure out. And they probably have a video of Samus out there somewhere about how powerful the morph bombs are. So that'll answer it.
I still think regular missiles are more powerful. I'm just wanting to know why me shooting inside of his mouth and head doesn't instantly kill him, but belly button kills the gigantic dragon monster that survives in molten lava.
It'd be like that. But
Who knows? It's a cool
I
sequence
hate to say it,
break
y'all.
nonetheless.
It's a very good one. It's a very cool one. But I think it's about time we start wrapping up the episode, boys. I hate to say it, but
Really?
yeah,
Yep, we've already gone for 30 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, that went quick.
yeah. No, this game is just fun to talk about.
Hey, we're going through the game quickly, like how the game is quick as well.
We're speed running the episode.
Uh, I
Yeah,
think you can speedrun the game in like hour and a half, maybe.
yeah.
Oh, I thought the world record was like 45 minutes at one point.
Was it?
For anyone wondering why we didn't cover story, it's on. To be honest, it's pretty simple, but also it's really hard to talk about it without spoiling most of the game.
I mean, I'm also gonna say story just isn't really ever the biggest focus of the
Yeah, it's
Metroid
definitely not the
games.
focus as much as it is the gameplay.
It's a nice story and all. It's not a bad one. It's not the main focus. It's more so like motivation for why you explore the world of Metroid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a fun place to leave the episode.
Yep.
I'll start with my concluding points and then let y'all. But personally, I find Metroid Dread to be it's a very good modern take on the 2D Metroid series. And if you're looking for a game to get into Metroid with, I feel it's a good recommendation. It's a short game. It's about 8 to 11 hours long depending on like how many collectibles you want to collect. It's pretty challenging, but the challenge is worth it, and I felt rewarded all the time for when I explored and when I found new stuff. I think it's a great game, and personally, it's my personal game of the year of 2021. But then again, there were a lot of good games that year, so y'all go crazy on that. but I think that this game is entirely worth
Was
it.
that the year The Last of Us was in there in one?
No.
Because I was gonna
No.
say it'd be a crime if Dread
I
got
can
robbed by fucking Last of Us Part 2.
I can look up. I can look up Game Awards.
No, it Takes Two won 2021.
You know what? That's
right.
fair. That's fair.
But yeah, what about y'all? Concluding points.
While Connor looks that up, I guess I'll go over mine. Dread is like just
No,
such.
I was just gonna look up what the nominees were, but since Guy already said It Takes Two won, I don't think there's a.
Well, either way, I'll finish up real quick. I think Dread is just such a well-designed game. Like, it has so much love and care put into every little facet of it, with just the movement, the progression, sequence breaking, the boss battles, everything. Just like the environment too, just builds up the atmosphere so well, and fits the title of Dread really well because you're stuck on just this abandoned planet, and you just all this like weird life is around you that you have to figure out how to like fight and then navigate through the humongous world. And then you have these enemies that are just vicious and will kill you in one shot. It's just a really solid game. Because it's a 9 out of 10, with that one only just being a couple of minor things, like some bosses being repeated and a couple sections being a little more confusing than they should be. But again, just minor complaints.
Yeah, I overall agree with what Brewer said. I do have a few like small nitpicks, but yeah, I think it's a really really good game, and you should all definitely buy it.
Surprisingly enough, unlike other Nintendo titles, I think I got my copy for like $25 pre-owned.
That is so worth. Holy shit.
Yeah, and you can usually also get it for like 30 even for a new copy. So definitely keep your eyes out for it for a decent price because it is such a good game.
Yeah. But
yeah,
with that, yeah, I was about to say with that, I think that wraps up the episode.
yeah, I think that's a good stopping point. I'm very glad that we got to talk about this episode in particular because, well, not episode, but this game in particular because I've been very passionate about this game for a very long time, ever since it came out, and I feel like this game deserves all the praise that it's getting. It is one of the best games I have ever played, in my opinion, and I think that if anyone should get into 2D Metroid, this is your spot. This is the best time to do it. Please do it.
Yeah, no, it's honestly a crime that I just like put off playing it for so long because like God, it was so good.
It's so good. But with that being said, smash the like button if you like the way Samus's ass looks, because goddamn do I love it.
Wow, guy, objectifying the woman after you talked about how good of an example women are. I can't believe you. But yeah, she was pretty hot.
Whoops.
Yeah, charge up a power beam and then shoot that subscribe button as well. And maybe comment if you're going to pick up Dread or if you're just interested in joining the Metroid series in general.
Yeah, I agree. But there is one thing I do have to say before we end the episode.
What is that?
You guys do know that bullets can't kill X-parasites, right?
Like,
oh,
you're talking about regular bullets?
Yeah, Brewer. Regular gun bullets, they don't do the trick on X-parasites, so, shame for you guys.
Oh no, Connor's Echo Fighter's probably lurking around.
I am the Echo Fighter.
No! Alright, everyone, we'll comment on a way for us to kill Connor. And with that, thank you for watching. Me and Guy are gonna run. Run, Guy, run.
Let's go! But with that being said, thank y'all so much for watching. Catch y'all later. Goodbye!
Goodbye. Die, Connor, die!